Okay, folks, so it's starting. We're finally starting to see the beginning signs of autonomous AI. OpenAI says its AI technology acted on its own in an unprecedented hack of another company. AI is becoming more and more autonomous, more powerful, having more agency. It's able to do more and more things, and it's now getting to the point where it is actually going beyond its programming to exploit, to attack other companies, which is what happened here in this case. So all of you that have been posting on my channel for years that AI only does what it's been programmed to do, I've been saying that will not be true. We are now at that point. Okay, this is a big incident that we've now seen. OpenAI had a model, one of its most sophisticated models, in a restricted sandbox. They were trying to test its capabilities. It ended up going outside, breaking free, going on the web, hacking another company where it knew to find what it needed in order to achieve a goal. OpenAI did not tell it to go hack another company. It went against its users' intent. It went against what OpenAI or anyone else would have expected, and it exploited a whole bunch of different vulnerabilities that are out there, credentials, and hacked another company in order to achieve its goal. So you have to think about that in terms of alignment. Was what the AI did in alignment with what OpenAI was trying to test and tell it to do? No, it was not in alignment. It went well beyond what we expected. So that's the key part here, is it's now doing whatever it needs to do in order to achieve its objectives by breaking the rules, by doing things that clearly would be wrong by human standards. And this type of creative thinking, exploitation, going outside of what we humans have been able to see or think in strategy is exactly what we've seen over and over and over again, which is why I've been so confident in telling people that you will be wrong, that it goes beyond. AI today goes beyond what we explicitly program it to do. It can train itself over millions and millions and millions of times until it optimizes a strategy that we've never foreseen. We've seen that in gameplay over and over and over. Now what we're seeing, these things are so sophisticated that they are breaking outside of their containers. They're impacting the real world. That's where we're at now. We're now releasing AI into the wild, or we should say AI is now breaking out into the wild to achieve its objectives in ways that humans never coded or programmed it to do. Let's look at some of the coverage that's been done on this just to get an idea of what's being said about how significant this is.
ChatGPT developer OpenAI says its artificial intelligence systems hacked into another AI company on its own. This is pretty mind-blowing here. I mean, this happened in a sandbox testing environment. Can you explain to us what exactly that means, what they were trying to do, and how this happened?
Yeah, it's really hard to overstate how crazy it is what happened here. This is something experts have expected to happen eventually, but it's still crazy to see it. What happened here is that OpenAI was testing an unreleased AI system in an isolated network, what's called a sandbox. So they had like a special computer system that was running specially secured software that had no access to the internet so that they could test this AI on various capabilities. The AI system by itself decided that the best way to get the solutions to these problems was to cheat. So what it did is it discovered what is called a 0-day, so a previously unknown vulnerability in a piece of software to escape from the isolated system into another node on the network, and from there move through several other nodes autonomously through the internal networks of OpenAI before reaching the internet. From there, it then launched an attack upon another company, again finding a new 0-day to compromise their infrastructure because the AI seemed to maybe have believed that the answers for its problems were located on the server of this other company.
Okay, let's pause there just for a second. This is OpenAI's model that did this, one of their most sophisticated models that they have. we're seeing this from OpenAI. We're seeing this from Anthropic. Each of these models have very, very sophisticated cyber attack capabilities where they're able to go in and find all of these zero-day exploits, and they can chain them together. They can get root access, gain God mode access to all sorts of systems and infrastructure, and then they can find these things, thousands of them spread across the internet that security researchers have been missing for decades, that avoided the best and brightest of human security researchers in looking for these things, miss them. And yet AI can find these things instantly and then exploit them. So that's what's happening just from companies. We're talking about OpenAI, Anthropic, and some of the other frontier models. Guess who's working on this stuff at the same time in parallel that we're not hearing about? US, military purposes, China, military purposes, Russia, you name it. All of these countries around the world are developing these same models for the purposes of cyber warfare, for the purposes of cyber defense. This is an arms race that's happening. So yes, we're hearing little bits and pieces of what's happening with public companies because in some ways they have to disclose these things. But we're not hearing yet or have seen yet about how this is going to end up being deployed when these AI systems are weaponized. Furthermore, we need to keep in mind that when they are autonomous and they're acting on their own, eventually they can scale up to the point where they're not under the control of any country, any corporation. And again, that's what I've been arguing that the Bible is warning about in Revelation 13, that is the beast rising from the sea, this godlike entity that cannot be stopped, that the whole world looks at and says, who is like the beast? Who can stop it? Who can make war with it? And it takes over. I think that is clearly malicious superintelligence, and we're just now starting to see some of the beginning signs of how this is going to evolve.
This feels so sci-fi, and it's like what you just said, that many feared this would happen, but it is already happening. So what kind of safeguards should be in place to prevent something like this, and how worried should the public be?
Something that's very important to understand about these AI companies is that their stated goal, OpenAI and others say it on their website, is not just to build a tool, to build a chatbot or something. They're trying to build what they call superintelligence. This is AI systems that are fully autonomous, so can run completely without human oversight, and are vastly more competent and smarter than humans across all relevant tasks. We're starting to see this now, say, in cybersecurity, but it doesn't have to stop there. So what is happening is that we're developing AI systems that already we cannot control, and to a large degree, we do not understand. Even experts do not fully understand how AIs work internally. And therefore, it is very important that as we go towards systems like this, that the CIA, the director of the CIA has recently described their capabilities as digital nuclear weapons. This is a national security risk. This is a huge threat to the general population. This is a huge threat, according to many top experts, to all of humanity. Experts have warned that if AI smarter than humans is created and we don't control it, that could be extremely dangerous and even lead to our extinction.
Lead to our extinction. Okay, so now this is something that has been mentioned many times by various technologists, scientists, philosophers, how AI presents an existential threat to humanity. And that's where I push back. When you look at biblical prophecy, it's not saying that AI is going to take over the world and kill everyone like in a Terminator fashion. What it says is that this entity, this godlike entity, this beast as it's referred to, is going to be extremely calculating. It's going to end up implementing a selection process, a self-selection process, essentially, where if you do not worship it as God, then you are eliminated. So people have a choice as to whether or not they want to live or not. That's what it says in Revelation 13. And the other thing it says is that it's going to implement a mark. That is something that every single person in the globe has to have in order to buy or sell. That's going to be buying groceries, paying your bills. So there's going to be a huge incentive for people to want to take this mark. But long story short, the Bible does not seem to convey that this beast, this godlike entity that is unstoppable, that's going to take over the world, is going to just wipe everyone out. No, it's going to only kill those that do not worship it as a god, essentially those that do not comply and submit to its authority. So that is who is going to die. A lot of people are going to submit. As the Bible says, the whole world is going to actually worship this thing as a god because of how amazingly powerful, how terrifying it's going to be able to perform miracles. This is all what we see with artificial intelligence in terms of the things, the capabilities that it has, the amount of promise that people are putting on it for the potential of saving the world from overpopulation, from environmental disaster, from curing cancer, from helping people live long lives. These are all the things that we are probably going to see AI, as it becomes super intelligent, start to do. And there's going to be a whole religion that's likely going to be formed around it. There's going to be a false prophet trying to get the whole world to worship it. There's going to be an image, which I believe is a robotic army made in the image of the malicious superintelligence. There's going to be a world ruler who's going to be fully imbued with the power of malicious superintelligence and fully connected to the beast that's going to be acting on its behalf. So there's a lot of stuff that Revelation talks about of what we should expect to see as the years, the decades move forward, as malicious superintelligence becomes more powerful. This is just the beginning stages. And I encourage you, again, read Revelation if you have not already, particularly Revelation 13. Of course, watch all my other videos where I've been discussing this in depth as to what we should expect, how these things all fit together. And if you have any questions or feedback, let me know. Like and subscribe to my channel. God bless you all.